I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I'm Tony Russo, no relation. We got all sorts of fun. It's funny because sometimes we sit down and we don't think we have anything to talk about, and then as it turns out, we do. And that is one of these. That is one of these shows. I got up to a bunch of stuff. I got out and did reportery stuff that was horrifying. And I'll share that with you. But before we get to that, let's get to you. What did you get up to this week?
This week was another fun week. A great event that they always have at Fager's Island, which was the Brewgrass. Multiple beer vendors, craft beer, multiple bluegrass bands that we're friendly with, and some great Southern style barbecue. And it was a good time for sure. We posted up. We took some pictures. We shared it on all of the social media outlets, and it was a foot-stomping good time. But one of the things that the real test was, we didn't do a normal video like we normally do. We did instead a long audio recording of the performance. So we'll have basically songs we can put out on a regular basis by Dry Mill Road and by the Saltwater String Band. And then we also streamed the thing live, which is not too dissimilar from what you and I do every week here on the Google Hangout. But we're using the new Twitter app, Periscope. And we were talking a little bit about this, and you don't know anything about this yet, do you?
No, I'm back on an analog paper. Our paper doesn't even really have much of a website, and I've been doing some non-internety things, and you can tell when I'm working on something and when I'm not for how dark I go on the internet. Like I've been pretty dark on the internet for the last couple months. I'm about to go like very dark on the internet, and then pow, I'll be back, and you'll be like, oh my God,
right,
why won't you leave me alone? Unless I've been drinking, in which case I'm on the internet, because that's what it's for. The internet is a way to drunk dial humanity.
Yeah, I like that. Well, if that's the case, then there's a new and improved way to drunk dial humanity. And a little secret here, we're actually using it right now. I have this handy dandy phone with a little lens, just to create a little nuance, a little bit of look to it. But so this is just a regular iPhone. It's my son's iPhone, and we downloaded and we're using Periscope. And Periscope is Twitter's answer to Meerkat, which both are live streaming apps. Meerkat came out South by Southwest, the technology portion of that, and had a huge splash. It was what everybody was talking about for that week. It was in all of the tech blogs and papers and stuff like that. But they came out and they got celebrity endorsement like right away, people just downloading it and that sort of thing. But then like a week later, Twitter goes, oh yeah, we have the same thing, but it's got our $1 billion behind it, and got one better feature and maybe like a slightly better interface. And I don't know, I was reading articles today that it's already beating out the other. I don't know. We'll wait and see which remains. It's funny because I actually have to use my son's iPhone because it's not yet on Android. So that I'm sure that will be coming.
Now, I'm sorry. So Meerkat, I know, is the animal that poops coffee. You know that.
Yeah.
But besides being the animal that poops coffee, so if we were to start doing the Todcast on that, would I be using my phone?
This is a mobile platform, and what it doesn't have is the ability to do one-to-one communication. However, what it does have is this ability. Maybe Natalie will jump on and start watching. It has this ability to it has very improved lag time. So this is a mobile device where you could just like being on the PC or laptop and commenting here on the Todcast through Hangouts, but mobily, no lag time. You can make comments. You can send. They have these little project where you can where you can send hearts by tapping the screen, and and that sort of thing. So it's our friend Lowell Meltzer just moments ago was actually broadcasting live from the Fort Meade, where somebody tried to break into the NSA dressed as women, which I think is kind of hilarious. Somehow reminds me of a Damon Wayans movie plot, but but it's probably terrible because I think some people died, so I shouldn't make jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. We broadcast all of the.
If someone dies copying a movie, that's funnier.
I knew that you would have no sensitivity to it.
I'll have sensitivity as soon as it affects me personally, or we're running out of humans. Those are the two times I worry about death. When there's a chance that I'll have to dress in a black suit.
Yeah.
Or if we're ever going extinct.
Going extinct. Last man on the planet.
And again, as long as I'm one of the last 50, I probably would be fine with that. Yeah. My question is only because I don't understand. If we were to do that, we couldn't do it. We can't do the Todcast on this, or we can.
Well, we're kind of doing it now, but I don't think that we can go direct 2x2.
So we would be commenting here, talking here.
Yeah. So that's what. So I started this little broadcast before we actually started. What will go up on YouTube. So maybe it's a little bit more behind the scenes. I don't know. Just trying it out because the point being we're gonna with all the stuff that we're doing out and about and entertainment wise, this would be a fun thing. If you're not able to make it out to Brewgrass, but you can still watch, the guys playing, or if you want to see the behind the scenes of Natalie losing her patience with me and while we're at the Starboard filming,
that would be an excellent idea. That's something you totally want to broadcast because that won't come back to make you miserable at all. Look how mad she is! Isn't that cute? Let me videotape that. That was the last day. That was the last time we saw him, officer.
Right. So we're just as always, experimenting, playing, and trying to stay on top of things. As we are apt to do. But it sounds like you're pretty much on top of things, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all, our point is that between now and next Tuesday, I download Periscope and learn how to use it, and then we can screw with it next week.
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, and I'll understand it by Wednesday afternoon.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing of it is that you're more of a Twitter person. You're one of the more Twitter savvy people I know here on the Eastern Shore, and with its connection to Twitter, I think you might actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm hiccuping. I have trouble tweeting now increasingly, and I'm trying to get away from it. Increasingly, I'm having trouble tweeting while things are going on because the things that I've been doing lately, I'm trying to make them into something that's longer than 140 characters, and so I don't want to get distracted. But I'm going to make an effort to get back. I use Twitter still a lot in my office, and I haven't been using it from my phone very, very much at all. But it's something that I would really like to. I feel like I have to start doing again. So yes, I will be totally on that. This weekend was Easter egg hunt weekend here on the Eastern Shore. We had an event in Fruitland that I covered and an event in Salisbury that I covered, and boy, were they brutal.
Oh man.
It was cold, and it was quite nice. The Fruitland, I went and I covered the Fruitland Easter Parade. Yeah, I know people, and everything was fine. It was fine about the Fruitland Easter Parade, except that it's hard for me to have gone to a newspaper that, as I was saying before, has almost zero internet presence.
Yeah.
Because this was for one of the publications we put out monthly called the Salisbury Star. So on Friday, I finished putting the Salisbury Star together, and then on Saturday, I had to go out and shoot photos for May. And when you're out and everybody's dressed in, everybody's got their parkas on, and it's clearly everyone's cold, and it's Easter. It's an Easter parade in March. You're like, you're not going to run this in May, and when May comes, you're going to say, well, I want to put this in the paper because I wasted a Saturday and a Sunday going out to do it, but I would rather have just not gone out to do it. So I've come up with a new plan for advertising for the newspaper that I'm going to pitch to my bosses, and maybe they'll buy us a good website, because one of the things that newspapers don't seem to do very well is advertise on their site. They do it poorly for a thousand different reasons. But what I was thinking is like a hybrid. The sponsored content or the pop-ups that you get, say, this website is sponsored by Old Navy or whatever. Click on this ad, or you have to watch the ad for 15 seconds and stuff like that. I'm thinking of an embedded ad that changes every time you click on a particular story. It's not an advertisement, but it's a click-through. So, for instance, if you were to take out an ad at the Salisbury Star on a story so I wrote a story and you were in that paper, then all the stories in that paper, it would be like Good Clean Fun Life supports local journalism, right? Good Clean Fun Life supports local stories, something like that. Good Clean Fun Life supports community news, stuff like that, right? So that way you don't have to. It's like a sponsorship that comes with your ad for the paper. So if you take out an ad that week, let's say you take out a quarter-page ad, you'll get 4 times less rotation than someone who takes out a full-page ad. But all the ads will be the same. So-and-so supports such and such with a click-through to your website.
Huh.
I feel like that could be a good transition, not for big newspapers, but for little newspapers like mine that have this, because A, we're weekly, B, we are subscribers, so people pay for our newspaper. Not for the Salisbury Star, but for the other ones. They pay to get that. And they're afraid that, they're not they're afraid, they can't, I don't believe, justify making a paywall. Like, it's easier for them to have a shitty website than it is for them to invest money in a paywall that the cost of the paywall wouldn't be covered by. It's an expense they can't afford, and they also can't afford for people to just drop all their subscriptions because they want to see, because a lot of it is sports. We do sports very well, and kids they want to buy the paper because the kids' pictures are in it.
Right.
And so this is like, so this week's sports section, and all of a sudden, sports section real estate gets really high, because if I'm going to share a photo, it's going to say on the photo, right? It's going to say on the share page, Good Clean Fun Life supports community sports.
Right.
Whatever it happens to be, whatever section you happen to buy that week.
Well, and it makes sense, too, because you still have the paper. So this is sort of an addition to that, right?
Exactly. And then when I get back from the parade, I put all the photos online, and people get used to looking at the photos and stuff like that, and you get all sorts of traction. With the free papers, I don't know why they aren't doing it already. I do know why, because they're cheap and they don't understand the internet. But that's the pitch I'm going to make at our editorial meeting Friday, unless my boss is watching now, in which case that's my pitch.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could flush it out so well.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly, I wanted to humble brag a little bit, is I got my first royalty check.
I'm excited to hear that. Do you have it?
I have it right here.
Is it like when you were a skater in the 90s and you got a 30-second? Wow. Hey.
$212.59. I almost had a heart attack and died.
That's like 4 bottles of whiskey.
Yeah, right. They sent me an email saying your royalty check's on the way. Blah 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 blah. Here's your royalty statement. All I saw was the number of books sold and the amount of the check, and then I'm like, I have a headache. I have to go to bed. Because it said I'd sold 400 books, And for those 400 books, I got $212, and I'm like, I can't live in a world where I've only sold 400 books. And so the reason we're having this conversation and we're having a good time with it is as it turns out, and this is the braggy part, it was just for the period ending December 20th. So they pay from June 20th to December 20th, and then from December 20th to June 20th.
Oh, wow.
So between November 11th and December 20th, I sold 400 books, which is better. I can live with that. That's a pretty good clip.
Right, yeah.
And they keep 35% for returns and things like that. And I don't get any money from Amazon. I wasn't so upset about I was a little upset about the money because I was expecting, I think, like $1,200. So that was like $1,000 less than I was expecting. But it was also for only, it was only for a month's worth of sales instead of for 6 months worth of sales, which is what I thought I was going to get. So.
Right. And you think you have a good beat on the sales for from January on, or from, I mean, like, obviously that was when I
sold a bunch of books in January and February. That's what I mean. And I was getting more speaking offers and stuff like that, and more bookstores had said, hey, we got another batch. And usually you buy them in 40. Usually buy about 40 books at a time.
Yeah.
The bookstores do. Some buy 25, some buy 40. You get a little bit of a break if you buy 40. And so if you're going to have an author event, a lot of times they'll buy 40. But I know several bookstores bought several sets of books. And that's why I was like, 400 seems low. I really thought it was more like 1,200.
Yeah.
And I do know that I've gotten into my second printing because it's coming up on tourist season in Ocean City. And I think they want to get our friend at Ocean City Brewing Company to buy some of my books. So and if I'm going to a second printing, then I could be closer to 5,000 books than to 2,500 books.
Right.
I thought they printed 2,500, out of which I thought I sold 1,200. And then I saw that I sold 400, and then I thought I had to kill myself.
I have a headache. I have to go to bed.
Yeah. And no word yet on the Beer in Delaware book, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. I'm sure I'm going to write it. If these people don't want to run it, somebody else will pay to run it. So.
And what about the whiskey book?
That's probably 2 books away, because I'm gonna try to get it. And for any agents listening out there, I'm gonna begin to try to get an agent again. I haven't tried since it's been more than a year since I've tried to get an agent because I had this book to do and all. But if I'm ever going to get that Burley book written, published, I'm going to need to have an agent. So that's if you run into any literary agents, point them toward me.
I will. I might run into somebody on my commute.
Yeah. if they're hiding in your basement, maybe, and the fuse goes down.
Yeah, commute from upstairs to downstairs.
Also this week I was at Third Wave, and I made a blog post on Shore Craft Brewing. I don't know where I work anymore, and it's really, really hard for me. Last week I had been to Dogfish Head already, and we talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So people ask me, I used to work for the Star Democrat. Now I work for the Laurel Star sometimes, and the Seaford Star sometimes, and the Salisbury Star sometimes. And then sometimes I'm writing for shorecraftbeer.com, and sometimes I'm writing for 2 or 3 of those. And sometimes I'm doing research for the book. So when people are like, oh, so what's this for? I'm like, and you can see they're like, you're full of shit. You don't even know. You don't even have a good lie at the ready. And it's not that I don't have a good lie at the ready. It's just that the truth is too complex for me to keep in my head.
Right.
But anyway, I got to, and this is something that I want to talk about. So we'll get to the part where you get to speak in a second. The idea of this is going to be the year of packaging. Brian's canning already. Did we have that conversation?
We asked, and we weren't sure, but it should be coming in the spring. I know they were designing some labels for cans.
Cool. So Brian's going to can. Tall Tales is going to quadruple in size.
Wow.
Third Wave is going to bottle and can. before the season's out. And so is
Raw is canning also, aren't they?
and so is Real Ale Revival. So this is the year of canning, and at first I was a little concerned, and I've made these. I mean, I've said this to brewers, I've said this to owners, I've almost certainly said it to you 100 times. There's not a ton of shelf space, and it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous that the battle for shelf space is going to be hard on these smaller brewers. But then as I was kind of going through, locally is the place where you sell growlers. Away, kind of, is the place where you sell cans. And what we have here that I think makes us fortunate, or makes the brewers fortunate anyway, is enough exposure that people will, when people know you can get it in a can elsewhere, they'll seek it out.
Yes.
So we Eastern Shore beer, Delmarva beer people will be able to get shelf space elsewhere.
Well, and one of the things that I thought was interesting and incredibly unscientific but made absolute sense is that you can get twice as much shelf space for cans as you do for bottles.
Right.
So I mean that helps everybody.
Yes. As long as more people do cans. But I did hear a little bit of a horror story, and this is where my fear comes from. So they have a craft beer and barbecue competition, a craft beer festival and barbecue competition at the Delaware State Fair. It's called Red Hot and Blue or something like that. Not Red Hot and Blue. That's a place. That's a barbecue place. Right. Well, it's not that. Anyway, it's at the, and I'm going to list for you all the Delaware beers that are being represented at the Delaware State Fair. Are you ready?
Okay.
Mississippian River, and I think that's it.
What? That's.
Oh, maybe Twin Lakes. Point is, not Dogfish Head, not Third Wave, not Fordham, which is practically a Budweiser type beer.
Right.
I mean, Budweiser might even own part of Fordham, because the distributor is the one that picked the beers out, and they only picked the beers that they carried. So none of the Delaware beers made it.
Wow.
On the craft beer list for the Delaware State Fair. Like I said, it was. I can't remember. I just was shocked that it wasn't Dogfish. There was another.
Well, who distributes Dogfish in Delaware?
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe Carrie.
Like, Carrie has a handle on pretty much everything here on the Eastern Shore. I know in Maryland.
Well, this is NKS.
Okay.
That's the big one in Delaware. It stands for Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex. They were at one time the only distributor.
Yeah.
And they're the only local, quote, local distributor. The other one, the people who carry, I think, Third Wave, or the Budweiser people the Budweiser distributor has Third Wave in Delaware, and a couple of the other ones. So for Third Wave, that's fine. If Budweiser comes in and says, you're putting our craft beer on, but if NKS says, no, you're not, and, if these two monster distributors start fighting over shelf space, that's the only thing that bothers me.
I can see where that could be a concern. Yeah, I mean, definitely. The funny thing is, and then there's Brian and all his either insanity or stupidity or brilliance is now self-distributing, and I'm not caught up with Brian personally, and in a little while I saw him in town. I saw him on Saturday at Brewgrass, and he was just talking about loading up the truck with 4 times as much beer as they had been loading up before, and growing in all these different places. So I mean, obviously, if the Delaware State Fair, the distributor is picking who that is, I don't know if there's still an opportunity for somebody who's self-distributing or another,
That's weird. When did he start? Where does he self-distribute? Everywhere?
No, he's still using Legends on the other side of the bridge, as far as I know. And but locally here in Worcester County, he is self-distributing. So
that is interesting.
yeah.
You don't know? I mean, did he get dropped? Because he was with Carrie, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was with Carrie, and this was something that he that he always had in mind and wanted to do. You know, he'd rather go out. He can sell tap handles better than a salesperson can, and and can take care of people that are locally because he's out and around it anyway. Used to lament the fact that he'd go up to the Globe and they would be out of something and he'd have to make a call to get somebody. That whole 3-tier system. Built around the Prohibition days. That just doesn't make sense. But there's a lot of other aspects to it as well. You got to be able to clean the lines, and you got to be able to,
Yeah, that's interesting. Just because what Third Wave does, and I've just been over there a lot the last couple of weeks because I did the 2 stories. But what Third Wave does is they have a salesperson. They just let somebody else carry the fucking beer. So they pay someone to go in to all of their accounts.
Yeah.
In addition to the distributor, like Christy does.
Yeah.
Right? Christy doesn't bring kegs.
Only on occasion, but
right.
But yeah.
She doesn't have like kegs in her freezer at home. But she does go in, and they're like, "Well, yeah, the distributor's just here," and she's like, "Yeah, screw you. Let me make. Do you have enough beer? Are you sure? Are you really happy? Are you sure?"
Right. Right.
And it's the same thing. They can check the inventory and do all that stuff, and then someone else literally brings the beer in.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So there's that.
Yeah, I guess there's that. It's very exciting. But I think that's it for this week. That's all I have. How about you?
It's Easter weekend. That's coming up. And so that's going to be a fun time. We're going to be up in Rehoboth doing some filming at Bad Hair Day this week, which will be fun.
Are you familiar with the cannabis walk in Rehoboth?
The like weed?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I just hit on that today. It's May 2nd.
I just hit on that today.
I was doing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm more into Delaware recently.
Right.
The NOLA, is that what they're called?
Sure.
The national. I don't know. The national organization to. I don't know. Anyway, so there is a national and a statewide pro marijuana lobby that got permission to do a pro marijuana walk in Delaware.
Okay.
On May 2nd in Rehoboth. I tell you what, that's the next. I'm considering subscribing to High Times because I don't know very much about weed.
Well, no, we talked about this because if you've written the book on craft beer, you're going to write the book on artisanal marijuana. Right,
but I could literally get there are people in Denver. The Denver Post has professional weed reviewers and weed reporters. Right, I'm already reporting on beer business, so if I can get way out ahead of this, I could do that, and that would be a very good job to have, I think. Although I don't know because I'm not much of a smoker because I haven't smoked in quite some time, and when I do, it's like I get more for my money because I'm high for 6 weeks or something absurd. I can't handle it. So maybe I could just find a way to taste it. You just chew it and spit it out. I don't know.
Do they have spit buckets for weed?
I have no idea. But I wonder if there's a way where you can, or I could just maybe go where someone else is smoking it and just smell, and just describe the smell of the smoke. I don't know. But I'm considering subscribing to High Times so I learn how to write about weed because. If that comes to Delaware and I'm in the right position, I could be the guy.
Yeah.
I could do beer, liquor, weed, wine.
Right. Every parent's best.
Forget how shitty it is to be alive, or realize how wonderful it is to be alive. I'm in charge of
it. And on Tony's next show, prostitution.
I was just. Big prostitution is a little more complicated than that. That's really complex.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I'm kind of with you. I'm interested in what the how the landscape will shape up. But man, it's not for me. It makes me super paranoid. I don't.
Give me whiskey, give me beer, and I'm very for it. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but I don't know. All right, so if it were coming and I was going to write about it, then I'd have to start smoking just so I could see if I could still function and smoke.
Right.
Right? Because there are some people I know who can function quite well, who live their whole lives.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go get high, and now I'm going to go operate on someone's brain, and they're fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm that guy, and I certainly don't want to find out the hard way that, oh yeah, no, I took this job, but now I can't handle weed.
Yeah.
And now I have to pretend. I don't know. I write about lots of breweries that I'm not nuts about, but
Right. Well, that might be something too.
Oh, and the economic.
I don't know about that, and I don't know if he's a fan or not, but Bruce in the USA, which is one of the best Bruce Springsteen cover bands, is going to be at the Starboard this weekend, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, to say cover band is kind of it doesn't really do it service. Tribute band is what they are, and talking to the guy, super nice guy, he actually, because of the popularity of Bruce Springsteen, and you being from Jersey, obviously, know who Bruce Springsteen is. He's like the only approved act to be able to perform live, and has now become, at least has a understanding and a good relationship with Bruce Springsteen himself, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. There was a thing about Kiss a couple years ago, like licensing out, like leaving the band to someone, like hiring 4 guys to dress like them and go out and be Kiss, and not a Kiss tribute band. Like, okay, this is Kiss now, Kiss, and they just pay a fee.
Like stand-in.
Yeah, well, I can see a future where Bruce Springsteen and like all these iconic acts, The Who, they're like, yeah, you guys are now The Who.
Right.
You sign over, I mean, authors did it for years. They're like, Tom Clancy probably hasn't written a book this century. He's like, yeah, you send it to me when you're done. I'll put my name on it. We'll split the profits. So. Well,
I just realized there's something probably in between there and having the hologram of Tupac and Michael Jackson performing. It's like we don't ever have to lose any of our pop idols. We just need to, have somebody who looks similar to them, and then we project the hologram onto them, and we auto-tune the voice. Yeah, that makes complete sense. We're definitely going to do that eventually.
And that way nobody has to do anything creative anymore.
Right. I mean, we're already not doing anything creative in the movie industry because in the next 5 years, there are 200 remakes that are coming out. And I think I'm not making that number up as an example.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all. But that's also from stealing. That's not just. I mean, all right, yeah, it's Hollywood being cheap, but it's like, they lose so much to pirating. So once they solve pirating, I think we'll see more movies again. But for now, I might. If I can find a place to watch, they're doing the 29 hours of Avengers. Did you see that? Did we discuss that?
No.
There are theaters that are playing all of the Marvel movies, starting with Iron Man and ending up with Avengers: Age of Ultron. It's 29 hours worth of movies right in a row. And if I can find a place, and if I can get the time off of work, I think I might do that, because I'm into those kind of weird experiences. 29 hours in a movie theater is a story. It's a story and a half. It's a story worth telling.
Yep. That's for sure. That might be a good thought or just imagine to leave on too.
All right. So then, I got nothing else now. And how about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, may Todd give you a sense to live in a small town?
We will see you next week at Happy Hour. Cheers.